Hello my friends, my name is Tim Johnson. In this video today I'd like to talk about cravings, how to deal with them when you get them and how to avoid getting them if possible, and also how to avoid taking that first drink of alcohol or that first drug. But cravings first. Cravings can come upon us unexpectedly any time of the day or night, particularly when we first get sober. But it doesn't matter how long sobriety you get, sometimes you still get cravings. But the thing is, more often than not, they're confused with other needs that the body and the mind may have. And this is where the acronym hungry, angry, lonely, tired comes from, because in this instance, it's extremely useful to recognize where that's what you think is a craving is coming from. Hungry to begin with. Cravings are often mixed up with hunger and thirst. It may well be, and I've done this many a time. If I've had cravings, particularly in early sobriety, it's because I've not been eating properly, or I'm hungry, or my body's actually craving some good nutrition, or I'm just thirsty, and often I can stop the craving by drinking a glass of water. And it's as simple as that, and it just switches something in your brain, and away it goes. It's really important as well to be in the moment and focus on those feelings, that you think are cravings, because you'll come to recognize them eventually for what they are. Because you're getting used to living a new life. You've been leaning on alcohol as a crutch for so many feelings and emotions that you've been perhaps trying to hide from or trying to numb, and you're so used to reaching for it in certain circumstances, celebrations, grief, all sorts of, occasions, reward after a long day at work. You may see a certain time of day as being the time when you used to enjoy your few glasses of wine or whatever it was. And it's important to understand that those certain times of day and those certain occasions may well trigger feelings that you may think are cravings. But let's go back to hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And angry is another one. Resentment and anger and fear and all of these negative emotions, because all these emotions are on a frequency, and this is sort of science fact, away from everything else. There's like an ascending frequency of vibration and a descending, and all the negative feelings and emotions that you express are on a descending frequency, like self-hate, loathing, anger, fear, hundreds of them, of negative emotions, whereas the ascending vibrations are all stuff like gratitude and love and all the lovely things in life, and happiness and peace and tranquility and serenity and God knows what else, all the good things. It's the ascending vibrations, and you tend to attract those feelings and vibrations back. Like if you spend time with negative people, or with people who you used to drink and use drugs with, and they're still on that frequency, if you like, and they're still doing those things, all those negative things, and acting in that negative way and expressing negative feelings and emotions, it will spill into you. That's science, and it's unavoidable. And you have to be aware of that and avoid those people, places, and things. But emotions like anger, and going back to angry, resentment, fear. The Stoics said that most of the terrible things that happen to us in our lives are in our imagination. And that's very true, because if we're not in the moment, we're either projecting forwards into the future and using past experience to sort of project an outcome, increasing fear and fight and flight response in ourselves. And that stuff, 99 times out of 100, never happens. We draw pictures in our minds of negative things that are going to happen to us, and they never do. And it's important to be in the moment and avoid that. And as for anger and resentment and regret, looking into the past, then they can cause you to pick up a drink. They can cause you to think that you're craving a drink because you want to hide from those negative emotions. You want to numb them. You don't really want to feel any of those sort of low vibrations, if you like, fear, anger, regret, resentment, and all these horrible things. We don't like feeling them, you know, and it puts our body into an adrenaline state, a fight and flight state, with that sort of pain in our guts of butterflies and that hole we need to fill. And, you know, we start hating ourselves and not being able to look at ourselves in the mirror, and all of this self-loathing and that comes in. And inevitably, those that we see as cravings, we then move to a drink thinking that that will solve the problem. Of course, that makes the problem 1,000 times worse, and the consequences 1,000 times worse. So be aware of that as well. And the way to deal with those things is, number one, to practice being in the moment. And one thing I do is, if I'm sort of feeling any of those negative feelings, or I'm starting to project into the future and worry and fear and all of that crap stuff that you don't want, I take a big deep breath and I remember where I am and I listen to my breath going out and I say, at this moment, everything is fine. And it always is. And of course, that's what we should be concentrating on. And we feel all these negative emotions, we have to recognize them for what they are. They're not cravings. They're just us learning how to deal with them sober, you know, deal with that stuff sober, because we have to. You know, that's how we have to learn to live a new life and reprogram our minds. So we're not in that state all the time, and we're not mixing with people that are in that state as well. So hungry, angry, lonely. Lonely is another one. When we first get sober, if we are avoiding people that we used to deal with or drink with or whatever, you know, spend negative time with, if you like, then we tend to self-isolating. That's not a good thing, self-isolating, because loneliness will lead to all sorts of negative stuff. Fear to start with, you know, it'll create all sorts of monsters in your mind, you know, because you may not even like yourself at this particular stage. So spending time, you know, I think Wayne Dyer said, you're never lonely if you love the person you're alone with. But when you first get sober, you don't love that person, or you may not love that person. And, you know, spending alone time in your own head is not the best place to be sometimes. So that's important, to make new contacts and to overcome fear. Join groups. It's no secret, I'm in AA now. I left, came back, left, came back. It's the place where I find serenity and can handle my alcoholism the best. But I'm not promoting that, because I believe that there is something for everyone, you know, whether it's smart recovery groups online, friends, relations. If you're lucky enough to have the support of your family, I always had that support and I'm blessed for that. You know, people you can talk to, pick up the phone, video call, professional people if you're dealing with pain, depression and things that can't be dealt with without talking to a professional person. You know, you need to find the courage to do that and overcome your fear and talk to people. Don't be lonely, don't self-isolate, because that will definitely create these cravings, you know, and lead you to take that first drink or drug. Tired is a big one, because in early sobriety we all know that our brain is trying to adjust its chemical balance again. With drink, it's a stimulant that but it numbs the fight or flight system, the adrenal system. So do opiates. And when you stop and the body tries to rebalance and reach homeostasis again, then all of that adrenaline comes flooding back into your body and you're in a constant fight or flight state. And it affects your sleep, and insomnia is a massive problem, because we all know if we're feeling shitty, tired, not slept, we're going to be irritable, restless, discontent, which are those feelings that we were perhaps trying to hide from. We're going to be not feeling like making an effort or doing anything, and that's a dangerous place to be. So you have to be kind to yourself to start with, and that's not a cliche. I'm just saying that you should make it possible for you to sleep. In other words, blackout curtains, all your electronics out your room, some lavender on your pillow, some chamomile tea before bed. You know, all the things that will help you, some deep breathing, some meditation music with headphones on, whatever will help you relax. At least if you're relaxed, you're not getting frustrated and angry with not sleeping, and your sleep will come back. Like everything in sobriety, It will pass. It's horrible for a few days. And for some people, it's horrible for a few weeks, months, whatever. But every moment keeps getting a little better. And someone said that to me once. It was in rehab, I think. Just hold on. Because every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every month, every week, every month gets slightly better. And no one ever said a truer word. I mean, if you don't hold on, that's when the problems start. But there's so much you can do for yourself to make it more comfortable these days. There's a lot of information out there. And there's loads of information on all my videos, over 400 now, that you can look back on. Withdrawal, early sobriety, dealing with pain, past pain, which drives addiction. All of the things which I've just talked about. Another way of avoiding cravings, or when you get them, how to get rid of them, is to obviously distract yourself. If you can, in countryside, and you can get to countryside, it's brilliant just to go out for a 10-minute walk, or longer if you can, obviously, but we're all busy, 10-minute walk into nature, and if hug a tree, do whatever it takes, but you'll find a connection in nature and it'll make everything seem better. And it doesn't matter if the sun's shining or not, just some fresh air, moving your body. Moving your body is really important. Daily exercise, just as diet and supplementation is essential in early sobriety. Don't expect to feel good if you're eating shit every day. I mean, because it's nonsensical. Good nutrition and a balanced diet and getting rid of processed food and sugar, which is hard in early sobriety because the cravings, particularly if you're an alcoholic and you've been a lot of alcohol, because you need to replace that sugar. But you need to wean yourself off it and realise that it's just stimulating your body and it's another addiction that you're going to have to break. So the quicker the better that you break it and start putting good nutrition and supplementation into your body. Things that will help you sleep, like magnesium, for instance. That's a supplement that's overlooked, and about 80% of the population is short of it. You can buy all these supplements, and you can look into it online. Stuff that your body's going to need: alcohol, B vitamins, strong B vitamins. To help your body and mind recover. The stuff for your liver, milk thistle. There's all sorts of supplementation. Good, as long as it's good quality and it's natural. And it's researched and you can look at it, then, it's worth doing. So moving your body, getting out in nature to distract yourself. Also staying, and nutrition I've just talked about, staying away from people, places and things that trigger you. If you're an alcoholic and you continue to do your shopping and you walk through all the pretty alcohol bottles in the supermarket aisle, then don't be surprised when you get a craving. Avoid it. If you can, avoid it. It's not being cowardly or anything else. It's just being sensible. Until you feel stronger and until these things won't crave you. To walk past your favourite wines and everything's stupid. So just avoid doing it. Just as you're going to have to avoid meeting people who don't. There will be people who don't understand what you're doing, and you'll meet resentment. Particularly from friends who are drinkers and addicts. And it's really none of your business what they think of you. You've got to get used to that old saying as well. It's none of your business what other people think of you. It's your recovery and you have to do what it takes. If you're not prepared to take action and do what it takes, you will never stay sober. It's as simple as that, particularly if you are an alcoholic or an addict, which I'll come on to in a second. So people, places and things, it's important to stay away from those places that may well trigger you, and situations that may trigger you. If you're lucky enough to have friends and family who'll support you in your sobriety journey, then you're blessed. I've always been lucky, and it reaches the stage when you'll be totally comfortable. The obsession will have left you and you'll be totally comfortable with sitting with people that are drinking or being in places where there's alcohol, drugs, or you'll know in your own mind if it's going to trigger you or not, and you'll know when you're ready when you're strong enough to do that. So distracting yourself is really important. Sometimes if you've got to go and you read a book or you watch a Netflix or you do anything to distract your mind from that feeling, because if you let all these feelings go, and hungry, angry, lonely, tired, and all of that stuff I've just talked about, you'll develop an obsession. The craving will turn into an obsession. Once it's turned into an obsession, you won't be, it's very unlikely you'll be able to avoid picking a drink up or a drug, because, and then once you've done that, then the problems start, which I'll come on to now. So, I've taught one very thing early in sobriety. If you don't put a drink or a drug in your mouth, then you haven't got a problem. There's no problem. And it sounds really stupid and simple, doesn't it? But it is true. Because the easy part of getting sober is actually stopping putting it in your mouth initially. The hardest part is to keep stopping putting it in your mouth and to stay sober. That's not so easy because you've got a lot of rebuilding and healing perhaps to do, and a new way of living to discover, And in my addictions, in all my addictions, my alcohol and my drug addictions, I went to any lengths to get my drug of choice, to get my alcohol, to get my opiates. I went to any lengths. I would steal, lie, cheat, family and employers. I would do anything to get it, any length, if you like. I put everything at risk, everyone I love at risk, my job, my future, my health, everything. Nothing mattered apart from getting that drug any lengths. And it's the same with sobriety. You have to go, and you have to be prepared to go to any lengths. Any lengths. If you feel shitty in the morning and you don't feel like doing your daily routine, which you know is helping keep you sober, you've got to push yourself through that. You've got to step out your comfort zone, and you've got to shake yourself up. Because there's many a time, that someone like myself who has had long periods of sobriety has woken up and felt like that, and has had to physically, mentally push themselves out of the comfort zone, do the things I know are keeping me sober, put the work in, put the action in. The thing is, it's very glib to say, don't put it in your mouth, but you need to do everything you can to avoid doing that. The difference between someone who is a recreational drinker, if you like, a binge drinker, even heavy drinker, or just an occasional drinker, they can have a drink of alcohol, for instance. The same applies for drugs in this instance, but they can have a drink of alcohol, or they can have lots of drinks of alcohol. If a binge drinker, they're going to get dependent on alcohol eventually. Doesn't mean they're an alcoholic though. The thing is, they can perhaps stop for several days, a week, a month at a time, and they won't be obsessing about it and craving about it. They'll just stop, and then they'll start again, and they'll stop and start. And being an alcoholic's not like that. The thing is, once you have to understand that once you put, and if this is you, then you'll know, once you put that drink in your mouth, you can't stop. Nothing's going to stop you. It becomes an obsession. Normally, you're taking that drink to hide from all those negative feelings I've talked about, the pain you've got to heal from your past. That's a subject on its own. I've got videos on it. Have a look. But, however you decide to deal with that pain that you understand is perhaps driving your addictions or whatever. If you take that first drink, then you will be on a single lane track to drunkenness. Nothing's going to stop you. You will not stop. You can't stop. It's impossible. You will drink every bit of alcohol you can get your hands on until there's no more, or till you're on a blackout, or until you're so drunk you're unconscious, basically. And then you'll wake up, and perhaps the first thing you'll do, the obsession will have been ignited then. There's nothing you can do about it then until you break this cycle again. Because the pain will be 100 times worse when you wake up, because it's a depressant, obviously alcohol. So the pain's worse. First thing you do is if you get dependent, you're going to be reaching for the bottle to stave off your withdrawal symptoms anyway. So you reach for the bottle again, or drink again, and the whole cycle starts again. And there's always negative consequences. So the whole cycle, pain, drink, obsession, drunkenness, negative consequences, obsession, drink. The whole thing, pain, it's just a massive circle that you'll keep going round in, and that you cannot stop. That you're going to need help to stop. And that's the important thing, isn't it? Finding the courage to ask for help and guidance, and from people that are a lot more experienced and like-minded people. So whether that's professional help, AA, NA, CA, smart recovery, groups online, family, friends, doesn't really matter. Help, ask for help. It's always important. You've got to admit you've got a problem. You've got to want to change. You've got to realise you need to change. You've got to want to change. You've got to realise that your life's become unmanageable. And then you've got to reach for help. As simple as that, and then hand it all over. It's the only way out of that cycle. So you avoid taking that first drink by dealing with all those cravings like I talked about in the first part of this video, dealing with all of that past pain. And you also have to wake up and remember what it was like when you were at the height of your alcoholism or addiction. The damage you caused, the unmanageability, what your life, you have to put your mind back to what it was like then. The puking blood in the sink, in my case. The sitting in a room wanting to die, trying to find the guts, if you like, to finish it. With no hope, no future, no anything, just a darkness and this cycle of binging and drugs and drink and binging and drugs and pain and pain and pain and drugs. And no way out of it, no perceived way out of it. You have to remember what that feels like, what it feels like in alcohol withdrawal or drug withdrawal, the hell of that, the pain and what it's like, all the effort it takes in early recovery. Before you reach for that first drink or drug, you need to remember that because you never want to go back there, And the thing is, once you've got hope and you're putting the action in and you're going to any lengths, you won't have to go back there. Always remember how bad it was before reaching for that drink or drug. Always talk to someone before you reach for that drink or drug. Your sponsor, your friends, your family, all the people I've mentioned. Always look at whether it's a craving and what that craving really means, before you reach for a drink and drug. Look at the pain, look at your feelings. You have to recognise what you're feeling and when you're feeling it. You have to be the watcher of your thoughts. And that comes with time and it comes with learning to be in the moment, and that comes with meditation. Unfortunately, it's a fact. Learning how to breathe properly and meditate is essential. It will help you immeasurably to avoid fear and regret and all those horrible negative things, because you realise at this present moment you are okay and all is well. And that's difficult and it takes time, and you have to be kind to yourself. And you have to realise you're not perfect. Because I always used to go for perfection, I was driven. And you also have to realise, I was talking to, someone was talking the other day, I was listening to him, and he said that he realised he couldn't change the world, control the world or change the world, but he could control or change his part of it. And that was me. And you can't. You've got to let go. You have to learn to live in easy accordance with fate, like the Stoics say. To live life on life's terms and realise there's going to be shit times and great times, and learn how to deal with those two things, the good and the bad, and learn that new way to live. And you do that by being in the moment and learning to live and sit on those feelings and learning to enjoy them. So, the good times, and rather than worrying and getting into the past and future, and learning that you can deal with the bad times 100 times, 1,000 times better sober and straight, and you could be of more use to those around you and your loved ones, and you can deal with any problems that you may have so much better without the drug and alcohol anyway, so you don't need it. Anyhow, that's enough for today. Carpe Diem. Seize the day today. Good luck to you. Much love to you. Stay strong, live free. Thank you. Bye-bye.